Picture a child today. They wake up, get dressed, eat breakfast, and go to school. They sit at a desk for 6 hours. They are told when to speak, when to eat, when to move, and when to be quiet. They come home, do homework, watch a screen, and go to bed. Then they do it again tomorrow. Now picture a child 100,000 years ago. They wake up when the sun comes up. Nobody tells them what to do next. They walk out into the world and they play. Not structured play. Not supervised play. Not play with a learning objective attached to it. Just play. Completely free, completely unsupervised, completely self-directed from sunrise to sunset. And here is what that actually looked like. Because it was nothing like you might imagine. Ancient human children were not fragile. They were not protected from the world. From the moment they could walk, they were part of it. Fully. Completely. Without padding or gates or safety scissors or a responsible adult watching from 3 feet away. Anthropologist David Lancy at Utah State University has spent decades studying childhood across hunter-gatherer cultures that still exist today. Cultures whose way of life most closely mirrors the ancient human experience. What he found fundamentally challenges everything the modern world believes about how children learn and grow. In these communities, children are not taught. They watch. From infancy, a child is carried on the body of a caregiver and observes everything. Every tool being made, every fire being lit, every plant being identified, every animal being tracked. The information enters them not through instruction, but through immersion. The brain at that age is a recording device of staggering power, and it is switched on every waking moment. By age 3 or 4, ancient children were already attempting the tasks they had been watching. Not because anyone told them to, because the brain is wired to imitate. Imitation is the oldest and most powerful form of learning the human species has ever developed, far older than language, far older than formal instruction. So deeply embedded in the architecture of the developing brain that it operates automatically, without effort, without reward. By age 6 or 7, ancient human children were genuinely useful members of their community. Not in a symbolic way. Not in the way a modern parent might give a child a small chore to build character. Actually useful. Gathering food, preparing materials, caring for younger children, carrying water, building things, contributing to the survival of the group in real meaningful ways. This is almost the exact opposite of the modern child's experience, where genuine usefulness is delayed for decades, sometimes until the mid-20s. While the child accumulates credentials in controlled environments that bear almost no resemblance to the actual world they will eventually inhabit. Peter Gray, a developmental psychologist at Boston College, has argued extensively that the removal of free play from childhood is one of the most damaging things the modern world has done to the developing human brain. In hunter-gatherer communities, children play for most of the day. But the play is not trivial. It is practice. Children play at hunting, at building, at conflict resolution, at negotiation, at storytelling. Every game is a simulation of adult life, run at child scale, with real stakes. Because the other children are real, the environment is real, and the consequences of getting it wrong are immediate and felt. This is how the human brain was designed to develop. Through doing, through failing, through watching and attempting and failing again. Through navigating real social complexity with real peers in a real environment, without an adult mediating every interaction. The ancient child fell out of trees. They got scratched by thorns. They had genuine arguments with other children that nobody resolved for them. They encountered animals, weather, discomfort, and fear, and learned to navigate all of it through direct experience rather than instruction. and the evidence suggests they were extraordinarily competent for it. Survival International and various anthropological studies of contemporary hunter-gatherer children have documented 8-year-olds who can navigate dense forest alone, identify hundreds of edible plants, read animal tracks, and start a fire without assistance. Not because they were trained in these skills in any formal sense, because they grew up immersed in an environment where these things were done daily, and they absorbed them through the most ancient learning mechanism the human brain possesses: watching, imitating, and doing. Contrast this with the modern 8-year-old, who in many parts of the developed world is not permitted to walk to a nearby shop alone, who has never lit a fire, who could not identify a single edible plant in their environment, and who spends the majority of their waking hours being instructed by adults in skills they will not use for another decade. The ancient child was also never bored in the way modern children experience boredom. Boredom, as psychologists now understand it, is largely a product of passive consumption, of being entertained rather than creating, of being instructed rather than discovering. The ancient child's world demanded active engagement at every moment. The environment itself was the curriculum. There was also no concept of childhood as a separate, protected phase of life to be extended as long as possible. Ancient children moved fluidly along a continuum from dependence to competence, from observer to participant, from participant to contributor, without any formal moment of transition, and without anyone deciding when they were ready. Readiness was demonstrated, not declared. This does not mean ancient childhood was easy or without hardship. Infant mortality was high. Disease was constant. Loss was woven into the fabric of daily life from the earliest age. Ancient children understood death long before modern children are permitted to. They saw it, sat with it, processed it within their community, and continued. What it does mean is that the ancient child was taken seriously, not coddled, not managed, not protected from the very experiences that would make them capable. They were trusted with the world early, and the world made them ready. You learned to walk by falling. You learned to talk by babbling nonsense until the sounds became words. Every real skill you have ever genuinely mastered, you mastered the ancient way, through immersion, repetition, and the particular kind of attention that only comes when something actually matters. Your brain was built for that kind of learning. It still is. No matter how many desks you have sat at,